We're out here at the SKB case factory and we're going to show you how to do an industrial image without destroying your equipment from falling BBs. We better get started and see what we can do. Hi, this is JP Morgan. Today on the Slanted Lens, we're shooting out at the SKB factory. I was not kidding about the BBs. We're shooting in a spray booth where they blast the case molds with BBs to make them just rough enough to let go of the plastic when the mold comes apart. I'm going to get my camera right into the spray booth and get a really cool shot. The first thing to do when you arrive at a place like this and you're going to do an industrial shot is to get a good idea of what's going to happen inside when they turn that machine on. I wanted to know that before I bring my camera into the spray booth, before I bring my equipment into the spray booth. I want to see what's going to happen when those BBs start flying everywhere, so I have a good idea how to protect my equipment. So I put on face protection and headed in to see what's going on. The spray master put on his Jules Verne deep sea diving mask and gloves and started blasting away. I was covered in BBs at once. It was just BBs everywhere. This is going to be very difficult to protect this equipment. The first thing I do know is I'm going to want to backlight all these BBs so I can see them just a little bit better. So we placed our first light from behind to backlight the BBs and to rim light our guy. It was up just enough to backlight the BBs, but not up so high that it would reveal itself from behind him. So he's going to hide it for us. To protect our lights, we taped a 1-foot square plexiglass sheet in front of the lights to protect the flash tube and the modeling light. We also taped gaff tape over the top of the vents to make sure the vents are completely covered. We left just a little bit of space so that it'll breathe, but it kind of covered it over the top. The last thing we did is we taped plastic around the heads to keep the BBs out. I was concerned the head was going to overheat, but it didn't. It worked out really well. I was so thrilled to have the Baja B4s in this situation because they're battery portable. They also give us the ability to dial them up and down at the camera. That's a dream. You've got a remote that sits on top of the hot shoe of the camera. You can isolate them one or two and dial that head up or down. It gives you the ability to change the power setting on these Bajas without having to crawl up there and look on the back. And I mean, that would have just been a disaster in this situation. You know, that's really the future. If a monoblock doesn't have that feature, I would not buy it at this point. I mean, that's why pack and heads were always so popular, because the head's up in the air and you can ratio the power on the ground where the pack is at. Now with a good monoblock setup like the B4s, you've got the ability to control that right from the camera, any one of your lights on set. That's fabulous. Our second light is for his face and the front of his body. I saw an L bracket hanging from the roof and it gave me the idea of how we could hang this light in this very tight space. Using a super clamp, you can get these at Sammys.com. They're made by Monfrotto, by Avenger, Cupo. There's several companies that make a super clamp. So using a super clamp, I clamped a Magic Arm, that's made by Monfrotto, into its jaws. Then I took the head from a C-stand and tightened the end that goes onto the stand to the spud on the super clamp. I then used the C-stand head to tighten to the L bracket coming out of the ceiling. The light attaches to the spud on the end of the Magic Arm, and voila! With a C-stand head, a Magic Arm, and a super clamp, we got our light hanging from the ceiling. I put a 40-degree grid on this light to control it a little bit so it won't spill all over the room. Again, we've used that 12-inch piece of plexiglass taped to the front to protect the flash tube and the modeling light. We then put gaff tape on the top to protect the vents, and last of all, we wrapped it in plastic. I did add a little CTB, just the rim light or the backlight, to kind of cool everything off and make it look interesting. I put Spencer in to test the lights before we started. You know, he looked great. Using a C-stand to hold up a 1-foot square plexi shield on the camera side of the blast booth, I was ready to start. Yes, a massive 1-foot square piece of plexi to protect me and the camera. If I push the camera up close enough to the plexiglass, I'll not see my reflection any longer. If I pull away a little bit, I see my reflection in the plexiglass. So I've got to get the camera right up to the plexiglass, and that gets rid of all the reflections around me. Okay, when the BB started, they were going everywhere. They were going down the back of my neck, they were bouncing up from the floor, underneath my mask, into my face. I could only stick in there so long that I'd have to stop and take a break. We'd make some adjustments, change the lights a little bit, look at the images, change some lights, and then I'd go for another round. All the crew dove outside and closed the door. I don't know what I expected, you know, maybe a little backbone or something, but no. I got my shot and it looked great. At one point I did lower the light in the background down a little bit so that its emphasis was more on the spray of the BBs coming out of the nozzle and less on the backlight of the person, and that helped it look a little bit better. It was a spray of BBs. It was pretty intense, but pretty cool looking. I did go into camera raw and up the contrast and lowered the blue here just a little bit to give me my final image before Jillian retouches. You know, this was a lot of fun. It was dirty, and I was ready for a shower when we finished, but it was worth it. There were BBs everywhere. Even though we'd put plastic on the lights and taped the lights, when we took them apart, BBs are falling out of the tape, out of the plastic. There are BBs everywhere. But we had a great shoot, great image, very pleased with what we got here, and our equipment survived without any problems. So keep those cameras rolling, keep on clicking. So there's a look at how to do an industrial shot without destroying your equipment from falling BBs. Don't forget to subscribe.